Okay, there are some cases out there that just, they stick with you, right? Cases that make you rethink what's even possible.
Absolutely.
And today we're diving into one of the most uh, perplexing and genuinely bizarre events in forensic history, the death of Mary Reeser.
Ah, yes, the Cinder Lady.
Exactly. You might know her by that chilling name that got attached to her story almost immediately.
It really captures the grim nature of it.
It does. So this happened back in 1951 in St. Petersburg, Florida. Mary Reeser's death became notorious, not just because it was tragic, obviously, but because of this central, baffling paradox. We're talking about a human body almost entirely consumed by fire,
Right.
yet the room around her, surprisingly little damage.
Which, for investigators, even seasoned ones, was just,
Yeah.
baffling. It didn't add up with typical fire behavior.
Ordered on the impossible, really.
It did. And that's what this deep dive is all about. We're going to try and pull back the curtain on this specific mystery. We'll look at that initial, totally confusing scene, follow the meticulous investigation, which went all the way to the FBI, actually.
Wow.
And then unpack the scientific explanation that eventually emerged. It's a really fascinating journey, I think.
Yeah.
It shows how something that seems completely inexplicable, maybe even supernatural to some,
Right.
can sometimes have a chillingly rational basis underneath it all.
So get ready. We're exploring a real-life whodunit, but not really who did it.
More like how.
Exactly. How could this possibly happen? And the details, as you'll hear, are, well, they're pretty unforgettable.
They really are.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It all starts in the early morning, July 2nd, 1951. Around 8 a.m., Mary Reeser's landlady, a woman named Pansy Carpenter, shows up at the apartment. 1200 Cherry Street, NE. She's got a telegram for Mary.
Okay.
But as she reaches for the doorknob, she feels it. The metal is uncomfortably warm.
Ooh, yeah. That's never a good sign. An immediate red flag.
Right. She knew instantly something was terribly wrong inside.
And what she found. Or rather, what authorities found when they got in. It was just horrific. Almost beyond description, really.
Yeah.
Reeser's remains. Well, the report said she was largely ashes. Found right there in the charred springs of the armchair where she'd obviously been sitting.
It was just almost complete incineration. Unprecedented, really.
Completely.
And the intensity of it, that's what's so striking here. You need to picture this. All that was left of Mary Reeser was part of her left foot, still in its slipper.
Wow.
A section of her backbone and her skull.
That's those fragments.
Yeah, the sheer destruction of, organic matter, but so concentrated, it just raised huge questions immediately for everyone on the scene.
And that skull detail. That became quite famous, didn't it? The description that circulated.
Oh yeah, the shrunken skull thing.
Exactly. Famously described as shrunken to the size of a teacup.
Which sounds incredibly dramatic.
It does. And, while it made for a shocking headline, we should point out that detail was actually disputed later.
Oh, really?
Yeah, by at least one fire researcher who saw the scene. Which tells you something, doesn't it?
What's that?
How easily those initial, maybe sensational perceptions can become legend, and how important it is to separate that from the actual forensic facts.
That's a really good point. Because even without that maybe exaggerated detail, the core paradox was still completely baffling.
Oh, absolutely.
You have her body almost obliterated, practically ash.
Right.
But then you look just a few feet away. Plastic household objects, they were just softened, lost their shape a bit, not melted puddles.
Not what you'd expect with that level of heat nearby.
Exactly. And the most confounding part for the investigators, there was, and this is a quote, "So little damage done to the structure of the building and the furniture in the room, not even scorched or damaged by smoke."
And that's the kicker, isn't it? For anyone who understands fire dynamics, that just doesn't make sense in a normal scenario.
How do you get that kind of localized yet utterly devastating combustion?
That's precisely why this case blew up.
Sure.
It wasn't just local news, it went national. Because it defined the basics.
What do you mean?
Well, normal fires spread, right? They
Yep.
scorch things, leave smoke everywhere. This was different. Contained.
So the heat source must have been incredibly intense.
But somehow kept to a very small area.
Yeah?
It broke all the usual rules of the house fire. The local police, with all their experience with arson and accidents,
Yeah.
they were completely stumped. Out of their depth.
Totally out of their depth. So much so that just 5 days later, July 7th, 1951, the police chief, J.R. Reichert, he does something pretty extraordinary.
What's that?
He escalates it big time. Sends a box of evidence straight to FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover himself.
Wow. to Hoover.
Yeah.
That shows how seriously they took this, how unusual it was.
Absolutely. It was basically saying, we have no idea what happened here. We need help. This wasn't just some local mystery anymore.
And the stuff they sent in that box,
yeah.
it really highlights how weird the scene was. They were desperate for clues.
What was in it?
It wasn't just routine samples. It was like fragments of glass from the ashes, 6 tiny objects they thought might be teeth,
Oh, wow.
a piece of the carpet from under the chair, and that surviving slipper with part of her foot still inside.
Grim.
Very. And Chief Reichert's note to Hoover, I think it's worth hearing exactly what he wrote. It sums up their total confusion.
Okay.
He wrote, "We request any information or theories that could explain how a human body could be so destroyed and the fire confined to such a small area and so little damage done to the structure of the building and the furniture in the room, not even scorched or damaged by smoke."
That quote just perfectly captures it, doesn't it? The sheer bewilderment. It's like, help us understand the impossible.
Pretty much. A plea for an explanation.
But the FBI, they did eventually come back with an answer, didn't they?
They did. After their investigation, they concluded that Mary Reeser had been incinerated by something they called the Wick effect.
Okay, the Wick effect. Can you break that down for us? What does that actually mean, and how does it solve this puzzle?
Sure. So if you think about combustion science, the FBI's hypothesis linked a few key things. They knew Reeser took sleeping pills.
Right.
So the theory was she likely fell unconscious while smoking, maybe dozed off. Her night clothes caught fire, slowly at first.
Okay.
Now here's the Wick effect part. Think of the human body like an inside-out candle.
An inside-out candle.
Yeah. The clothing acts as the wick, especially if it was, say, synthetic or maybe heavily starched cotton. And the fuel, the wax in the candle analogy, that's her own body fat.
Ah, okay. I see where this is going.
The FBI report was pretty direct about it. It said, once the body starts to burn, there's enough fat and other inflammable substances to permit varying amounts of destruction to take place. And sometimes, it said, this destruction can lead to almost complete combustion of the body.
So her body literally became its own fuel source.
Exactly.
Like a slow, very hot, contained burn that just keeps feeding itself over a long time. That's quite a chilling image.
It is.
But it starts to make sense of that paradox, doesn't it? The flame is fueled by the body fat itself, burning slowly but efficiently.
Right. Concentrating the heat right there at the source.
Which prevents it from spreading outwards like a normal fire.
Precisely. And this wasn't just a lab theory. It was actually backed up by someone who knew her.
Who was that?
Reeser's daughter-in-law. She knew Mary's habits, like taking sleeping pills and smoking. She gave some crucial testimony.
What did she say?
She told a local newspaper, basically, the cigarette dropped to her lap. Her fat was the fuel that kept her burning. And she added context about the scene. The floor was cement, and the chair was by itself. There was nothing around her to burn.
Wow. So that personal account lines up almost perfectly with the scientific explanation.
It really does. It strengthened the FBI's conclusions significantly.
Yeah.
It paints this picture of a terribly tragic but ultimately understandable series of events.
Yeah.
Just the worst possible convergence of circumstances in physics.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense now. So the key wasn't some massive external fire. It was this slow internal consumption.
Right.
Clothes as the wick, body fat as the fuel, and the environment, concrete floor, isolated chair, helping contain it.
Exactly. It all contributes to this incredibly localized yet almost total destruction.
And that explains why the plastic things nearby only softened.
And why the room itself wasn't scorched or full of smoke.
Yeah.
The intense heat didn't really radiate outwards much. It stayed focused on the fuel source.
Yeah.
And, this case and the FBI's explanation, it was actually really important at the time.
How so?
Well, it helped to debunk a pretty persistent myth, one that's still around today, actually. Spontaneous human combustion.
Ah, right. SHC. People have talked about that for centuries.
Exactly. Cases like Reeser's were often chalked up to these mysterious, almost supernatural causes. Her death provided a stark, scientifically grounded alternative.
So it showed there could be a rational explanation for these seemingly impossible fires.
Precisely. It demonstrated that even these really sensational, bizarre scenarios could often be explained by understanding physics, chemistry, and, human factors like falling asleep while smoking. It shifted how forensic science started looking at these unusual fire deaths.
Moved them from the realm of the purely inexplicable
into something that could actually be investigated and potentially understood, yeah.
The science provides that chillingly rational how. But it's so important, isn't it, to remember there was a person at the center of all this, Mary Reeser.
Absolutely crucial.
We talk about the Cinder Lady legend, but who was she before that? Mary Hardy, born in Columbia, Pennsylvania, married Richard Reeser. They had a son, also Richard Reeser, born back in 1910. You know, beyond the gruesome details, she was a woman with a life, a family.
And that human element, it's vital not to lose sight of that. She was eventually buried back in Pennsylvania, Chestnut Hill Cemetery near Mechanicsburg.
Okay.
And her son, Richard Jr., he lived a long life until 1998, died at 88. She also had granddaughters, Mary Carroll, who passed in 2005, Nancy in 2021, and one, Martha Reeser Rice, who's still living. Her daughter-in-law, Richard Jr.'s wife, lived until 2008.
It gives you that sense of lineage, doesn't it? How her life tragically ended still echoed through generations, even while her death became this enduring forensic puzzle.
Exactly. A real person caught in extraordinary tragic circumstances.
So Mary Reeser's case really became a touchstone, didn't it? Especially in those discussions about spontaneous human combustion, that idea that captured the public imagination.
For sure. It's often cited.
But as we've seen, the FBI investigation provided this chilling yet logical explanation, an alternative to the supernatural.
Right. The Wick effect.
Her story isn't just about a bizarre death. It's really about the power of scientific investigation to demystify things, even the most sensational events. It really changed how fire investigators approached similar cases afterward.
Oh, definitely. It's a foundational case in forensic fire investigation.
Wow.
Taught investigators to look past the initial shock, the sensationalism, and dig into the specific, sometimes mundane conditions that can lead to these really extraordinary outcomes. It showed that what looks miraculous or impossible is often just, well, a complex interplay of known physical laws.
That's a powerful lesson.
And it applies way beyond just fire forensics, you know.
So the story of Mary Reeser, the Cinder Lady, it still fascinates. Not just for the macabre details.
Although those are memorable.
They are. But also for what it teaches us about how the world works. How our own bodies can behave under extreme but ultimately explainable circumstances. It's a stark reminder, isn't it? Reality can sometimes be stranger but also more logical than fiction if you just have the right tools to understand it.
It really raises a big question for all of us, I think.
What's that?
How many other things that seem totally inexplicable right now? Things from history, maybe even things today. How many might eventually be demystified?
Right, through careful observation, science.
Exactly. Critical thinking, revealing the logic hiding underneath the mystery. That journey from impossible to explained, it often just takes the right kind of curiosity, the right approach.
So maybe the next time you hear about something truly unbelievable, remember Mary Reeser's deep dive.
Yeah.
Consider the hidden physics, sometimes gruesome, but physics nonetheless that might be at play, and the power of just methodical investigation to find the truth, even when it seems lost in the smoke.